Om Shanti, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the first power in the series of 8 spiritual powers. So we will be meeting like this every Saturday. And I can't think of a better way to spend a Saturday than with all of you discussing the 8 powers. So welcome. And before we start the powers, I want to first introduce myself. I'm Sister Shireen. I have been meditating for 27 years, and I have been practicing the powers pretty much for that long. And so I still feel that the practice of the powers is a lifelong journey. And this journey really needs some in-depth study. And so that's what we are going to do in these series, is an in-depth study of the powers. And we will also talk about how each of the power really benefits us and what happens when we acquire that power, all of those things. And so before we start, I would like to go over some guidelines for you during this time. I want you to understand one thing, that whatever effort you put into this that's the reward you will receive. So if you put a lot of effort, then you will receive a lot of reward, and that goes for everything in life, but especially for this. There are really no shortcuts. You have to put in the effort. And so keeping that in mind, I would like you to please keep your phones in silent mode and in another room. Do not have it around you. We do not want any distractions with your phone. So keep it in another room. Sit in a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for the next hour. So this is important, away from children, away from all the other stimulus, just in a quiet room. And keep your video on. The reason we request to keep your video on is it really encourages other participants also. And the other thing is we would like you to take notes either on your phone or now is a good time to take a pen and a piece of paper and take some notes. And the last one is very important, is we want you to sit up straight. The reason why we ask people to sit up straight is because it really gives you, your body helps in acquiring the meditation, acquiring the practice. Your body really helps you. If you're slouching, if you're sleeping, all of those things, what happens is the body is registering something else, right? The message you're giving your body is something else. So give the message that your body needs to be alert, and this is the time to be alert. And so with that said, we will start the 8 powers. And so one of the ways that I always feel about the 8 powers is that the 8 powers, you could say, are the foundation of life. They're not just the foundation of spiritual life, they are the foundation of life. The reason why I'm saying the 8 powers are the foundation of life is without this spiritual power, you will not be able to have a good life. I was recently reading a statistic where 50% of NFL players, the National Football League players, 50%, and about 70% of NBA, the National Basketball Association players, 50% of NFL and 70% of NBA players become bankrupt in the first 5 years of their retirement. Why is that? Why is that, right? They have really mastered how to use their body for a particular skill, that they get paid millions of dollars per game, right? And so they have mastered that. But why is it that they are losing money? They're becoming bankrupt 5 years after. And the reason why is they don't have spiritual power to sustain their wealth. So if you want to sustain your wealth, if you want to sustain your mind, if you want to sustain your happiness, if you want to sustain good relationships, if you want to sustain anything in this world, you need spiritual powers. And so, lucky for you, we in the Brahma Kumaris have really identified the 8 master powers. These are master powers. Master powers means that you acquire these powers, then all the other spiritual powers will come to you. And so these master powers are very important to sustain a happy, good life. And so we always divide the powers into 3 categories. The first category of powers is where you master the mind, where your mind gets totally mastered. And so I don't know if you have realized, but it has taken very many centuries for your mind to come to this point. And so to master the mind, it's not that easy. So it will take time and it will take practice. So we have assigned 2 powers. And so today is one of the powers. And next Saturday, Sister Dorothy will share another power to master the mind. And then we have love powers where we master love. And then we have intellect powers where we master intellect. And we will get into all of that very soon. So let me share with you our so today's power, like I mentioned, is the power to withdraw. And the power to withdraw is one of the 8 powers, 8 master powers. And what I'm going to do with the power to withdraw is I am going to, what would you say? I'm going to break them down. I'm going to break them down into beginner level of the power to withdraw and an intermediate level of the power to withdraw. And I am going to assume that many of you are here for the first time. So if you're here for the first time, could you put in the chat and let us know you're here for the first time? But anyway, I'm going to assume you're here for the first time and give you some background information on the powers. And by the end of this particular presentation, you will understand why we need the background information. And so, so these are, the power to withdraw is a master power. And today we are going to talk about how to acquire this power to withdraw and why we need to acquire it. And so, you know, each of the powers really has a spirit animal. A spirit animal is something that when you think about it, you instantly think of the power. And the spirit animal for the power to withdraw is the turtle. And the reason why we thought the turtle was very appropriate for this is once the turtle finishes all its job, it just withdraws into its shell. And so that's a physical withdrawing. We'll get into what does it mean to spiritually withdraw into our shells. And so this power, what happens with this power is before actually we get into all of that, let's talk about what is inner power. So inner power is the ability to do something. It's any ability to do something, right? Power actually is any ability to do something, and the inner power is that we have that strength to do something, and that is inner power. So the ability to is inner power, and its capacity, whatever capacity you have, it's a tool. These inner powers are amazing tools for transformation, and it's a skill. It's a skill set that we can all learn. And so the spiritual basis for these powers, we need to understand some spiritual concepts for this power. And this concept is the first one is the soul. And when we say we are a soul in the Brahma Kumaris, what we are saying is that the soul is the living, thinking, feeling being in the body. The soul is the spirit, the animating force of the body. And the soul is actually what is alive, what is making the body live. And in our understanding, because of the way the soul is actually eternal and immortal. The body has a lifespan, the body has a death day and a birthday and all of that, but the soul is eternal. It doesn't have a lifespan. It's immortal because it is beyond birth and death. And so later on, I will tell you exactly why I am sharing this, how important it is to have conviction that, yes, I am a soul. And yes, the soul is the thinking, feeling being, and the body is just an instrument. And so when usually, popularly, what people say is that they have a soul. But what we say is that the soul has a body, because the soul is the main thing. The soul is the living thing. And then the next one we will identify is the supreme soul. And so the soul for us is a being of light. And the supreme soul also is a being of light. Like the body has a shape, right? It has eyes, nose, ears, head, 2 hands, 2 feet. That's 99.99% of the time. That's what people have. You know, that is the description of the body. But when we describe the soul, we say that the soul is a being of light. It's a point of light. And we in the Brahma Kumaris say that the soul is right here, behind the eyes, at the center right here, in between the eyebrows, at the base of the brain. It's a sparkling, luminous, alive energy, light energy. And the Supreme Soul also, like you see here in the picture, the top left corner, the Supreme Soul also is a being of light. But there is one difference between the soul and the Supreme Soul. And that difference is the soul comes into the cycle of birth and death. And the Supreme Soul is always pure. He or she never comes into the cycle of birth and death. And so that's how the soul looks. And we have mind, which are the faculties of the soul, the mind, intellect, impressions. We won't really get into too much. I just wanted to briefly mention that. And then we have 2 other words I want to introduce right now is soul consciousness and body consciousness. These are very important words to understand. So soul consciousness is when the soul is aware of itself as a soul. And body consciousness is when the soul is asleep and thinks that it is the body. Just remember, the body cannot be aware. The body is only living because the soul is animating it. Otherwise, the body doesn't have consciousness. And so when you are aware of yourself as a soul, the soul is aware of itself as a soul. then it's soul conscious. When the soul is asleep and thinks that it is the body, then it is body conscious. So that is the result of either soul consciousness or body consciousness. And that is a representation of the Supreme Soul. And so, like I mentioned, the Supreme Soul is beyond the birth, beyond the cycle of birth and death. He's also, or she's also, a being of light, a living being of light that is available for us, each and every one of us. The Supreme Soul is available. The reason why I'm sharing all of this is, remember in the beginning I said it's a tool. So these are all, it's a toolkit actually. The 8 powers are a toolkit. And the soul, the knowledge of the soul, the knowledge of the Supreme Soul, and other important concepts, spiritual concepts, they are the tools in the toolkit. So if I don't have access to all of the tools in the toolkit, then I will not be able to awaken inner power. And so to be able to awaken inner power, I need to understand my tools. And so soul is one, Supreme Soul is one. All right. And so one of the things that we use, that I'm going to use for the next 4 sessions, so Sister Dorothy will do 4, and Sister Shireen will do 4. And these are the terms that I will be using frequently. And I want you to understand these terms very well, because it is, again, it's part of the tool set, right? So we understand these terms and we know what is going on inside. And so conviction or faith. So conviction is when I am totally convinced. This is the deep conviction I have. Yes, I'm a soul. And so that is conviction. So we will use that a lot, which you could say is faith. Another one which we will use is Maya. And Maya in Hindi or Sanskrit, the word Maya means illusion. But it's not just a physical illusion. It's not like, oh, magician comes off and pulls out rabbits out of the hat. Not that kind of illusion. This illusion is a spiritual illusion. And this is your perception or your worldview based on the vices. So for example, I will give you an example. So let's say I say you are a soul. I want you to have conviction you're a soul. But if you have a lot of attachment to your body, then that vice of attachment will color your conviction and will create an illusion that tells you, no, you're not a soul, you're the body. And so the 8 powers, the enemy of the 8 powers, it's not any physical enemy of the 8 powers. This Maya is the enemy of the 8 powers. This Maya is what makes us go back to sleep each time we want to awaken a power. And Maya comes differently to all of us, right? And so we have to understand this Maya. And then today next presentation, I will talk about it a little bit more, how Maya comes to us in any power. And so what happens when Maya comes is it also distorts our inner conversation. And what the conversation tells us is, because of fear, is it tells us don't do something, no, you can, it could be something simple, right? So let's say I say, to awaken the power to withdraw, you need to get up every morning and meditate. which is true. You have to get up every morning and meditate. That's how you awaken the power. But if I tell you, you have to wake up every morning and meditate, what's going to happen? You might do this for 7 days, and on the 8th day, laziness comes and says, no, you don't have to do this. That is Maya, right? And that laziness also distorts this conversation, because initially we had such conviction, right? Yes, I'm going to do this. We had such enthusiasm. But as time goes on, our conversations inside our heads gets distorted, because we are coming out of laziness and fear and arrogance and attachment and greed and all of that. And that is Maya. And so another word that is used very often that we will use here is mantra. And so the word mantra we'll use in a very different context. Is mantra means mind, man means mind, and tra means an instrument. And so any instrument that brings the mind in order is a mantra. And so it could be an affirmation, it could be just sitting still in meditation and reflecting on this, anything, right? That brings your mind in order is a mantra. And we need mantras to awaken these powers, because once your mind becomes still and peaceful and comes in order, then the power awakens. So in this context, you're going to use a mantra, phrase, or an affirmation that helps us reclaim our inner power. And so the first part of the power to withdraw is, you could say, beginner level power. The beginner level power to withdraw is the power of introversion or introspection. And in power of introversion or introspection, what you're doing is you are going inside. You're going inside. What you're first doing is you're disconnecting from everything outside. And you're disconnecting from everything outside, like your physical body, and you're going inside and you're connecting with who you are inside. And so disconnect from outside, connect with who you are inside. And so there are two aspects to the power of introspection. One is soul consciousness. Remember, I spoke about soul consciousness earlier. And the second one is solitude. And I don't want you to get scared when I say solitude, because solitude means you can be with 100,000 people, but you are alone inside with your thoughts. And it's a beautiful landscape inside. The reason why we get scared is because we don't know this inner landscape. But if we understand the inner landscape, then it's very beautiful and you don't have to worry. And so the first part of the power is solitude and soul consciousness. And so every single one of us has a still point inside. There's a still point inside. And that still point makes our mind clear and detached. And all we have to do is get in touch with that still point. It's already there. That totally still point inside you is already there. So you just get in touch with that. So what are the benefits to the power to withdraw? Power of introversion, the first part of the power. So you are able to control your attention. Where you want to focus, you're able to control. This is actually useful let's say someone is yelling at you, right? Let's say your boss is yelling at you. You don't have to listen. If you have the power to withdraw, you just go inside and focus where you need to focus. So you have that ability to control attention. It really is the beginning of true freedom. Knowingly or unknowingly, every single one of us wants freedom. That is like a fundamental human right that we all crave and seek, is freedom. And actually, if you think about it, when someone misbehaves in society, right? When someone is not following the rules of society, what is the thing that they take away from that person? Their freedom. They put him or her in jail, in prison. They take their freedom away. And so this is a fundamental need of every human soul. And with the power to withdraw, you're able to achieve this true freedom. And very importantly, you have transformation. It's not just any transformation. It's not that one day you're transformed and the next day you go back and do the same thing. No. You have sustainable transformation that you can sustain over a long period of time. And all of this starts with the power to withdraw. It heals the soul. It's a very important thing that happens, healing. And it builds inner capacity. And so, before we do the practice, I'm going to have two sets of practices, and I'm going to start the first set of practice. I want to share with you why we are doing this practice. Why practice, right? So in Hindi, in Brahma Kumaris, our advanced teachings, we say that smriti leads to samadhi. So smriti is awareness and samadhi is power. So awareness leads to power. It's a really, really profound statement. Awareness leads to power. And so if awareness leads to power, then we really need to get behind what this awareness is, right? So this awareness, we need knowledge. Knowledge, spiritual knowledge feeds awareness. If we don't have spiritual knowledge, then we cannot sustain an awareness. So spiritual knowledge that we spoke about today is the soul and the supreme soul. That is spiritual knowledge. Soul consciousness, body consciousness, that is spiritual knowledge. If we don't have spiritual knowledge, if the soul doesn't have spiritual knowledge, then it cannot have awareness. And so you need spiritual knowledge to get awareness. And when you sustain an awareness, then you receive the power. This is something very important. People always say practice makes you perfect, right? And here we are saying practice gives you power. So practice makes you perfect. It's not any practice. It's right practice. Let's take golf, right? You keep practicing a golf swing and you're really doing it, practicing it bad, right? The swing is bad. You're holding the stick bad and, the club bad, and you're holding your wrist not in the right way. It doesn't matter if you practice for 100,000 years. It's not going to give you, it's not going to make you perfect. So it's the right practice that strengthens your awareness, and that leads to power. And so with that, let's talk about our first practice. So our first practice is about being a soul and checking in and checking out with our senses. So what we do in this practice is you go inside and you become aware of yourself as a soul. And once you become aware of yourself as a soul, you're becoming aware of yourself as a soul. And then through these eyes, you're aware, right? Just like I know that I'm seeing through these glasses, in the same way, you know you're inside right here as a being of light. And you're seeing the world, external world, through these eyes. You're hearing what I'm saying through these ears. And so that awareness, right? So detach, so become aware. First become aware. I am seeing through these eyes. And then become detached and go inside and become a soul, a being of light. Then again, I'm hearing through these eyes, these ears, and then again become detached and become aware of yourself as a soul. So you detach from the senses, from the external world, you're seeing through these eyes, and you disconnect and you go within and you see yourself as a being of light, a pulsating point of light. And the second practice for this one is just being a soul. So first you're checking in and out of the senses. That's the first practice. It's an important practice. And the second practice is even more important, is you're just seated. You're seated behind this forehead. I want you to visualize behind this forehead right here, there is a small room of light. And in that small room of light, you, the soul, are seated as a tiny shimmering point of light. And right there, you're seated, you're safe, you're calm, and you're protected. Feel very safe inside. You're safe, calm, and protected. So that, my dear friends, is the first part of the power to withdraw. And I want us to again do the practice just for a couple of minutes. Sit back, relax. Like I said, keep your spine straight. And I want you to do practice 1 first. Just like I, the soul, and I'm aware that I'm watching through these glasses, I want you, the soul, to become aware that you're seeing through those eyes. You're a soul behind these eyes, and you're seeing through those eyes. Now again, become aware of yourself as a soul. And now you're hearing through these ears. It is the soul that's seeing, it's the soul that's hearing. But you're aware that you, the soul, are hearing through these years. And now let's do practice 2. I want you to visualize a soft glow, a soft white light, a room inside your forehead. So you could say it's a really small room of light. In this room of light, you are a shimmering star. A beautiful yellow, shimmering, pulsating star. You're a soul, calm and safe and protected inside. Okay. Now, I want you to become ready. Okay, so if you have any questions, there is Sister Dorothy, SOI Sister Dorothy. You can send your questions to her, and we will address all questions very soon. So now let's go on to the second part of this power. So the other part of this power is the power of unplugging. Unplugging from your story, from the dramas around you, unplugging from the body, everything, right? And so the thing with this is you need to understand one other concept, and that is the concept of a movie. So this life, in our understanding, is a grand epic movie, and we call it drama, right? It's a grand epic movie. And all the actors are, all of the souls are actors, and all of these bodies are costumes, and there's a whole big, grand epic movie going on. And so my life is a movie. All souls are actors in the grand epic movie called drama. And obstacles, if you've noticed any good movie, right? If you're a hero, if you decide you're going to do these 8 powers, you're really the hero of this movie. So as a hero of this movie, obstacles will come. They're just part of any good movie. But you have to understand victory is guaranteed for you. And the way victory is guaranteed is if you have conviction, you have faith in the spiritual concepts, then victory is guaranteed. And so eventually I will win. Eventually I will win. Eventually I will become victorious. And so again, we need soul. I'm a soul. Again, we need soul consciousness and body consciousness. That in soul consciousness, the soul is aware of itself as a soul. And in body consciousness, the soul thinks it is the body. And so what we are saying in the second part of the power is that you have to be a turtle. And so the reason why the power to withdraw is represented by a turtle is the turtle, when it senses something, it just goes inside. right? It pulls its arms and its legs inside its shell. But what we have to do is we don't need to sense danger. We don't need to do all of that. We just periodically need to go inside into our shell of soul consciousness. That is what we have to do. Go inside our shell of soul consciousness, right? So that is the shell we are going inside. So unplugging. So unplugging, it is the ability to unplug from many different activities. That's the first layer of unplugging. I'm doing an activity, just stop for a few minutes. So we need to unplug. And then the second layer is from our roles and responsibilities. Being a mother, being a wife, being a husband, being a son, being whatever, right? Just unplug. You're just a soul. You're not all of those things. Just a few minutes. I am not any of those things. And even from our senses, we have to unplug, right? The first practice is that. And so this power is the ability to go within in any situation and remain protected in the shell of soul consciousness. So why are we unplugging? Why should we unplug? If you take any machine now, you can't keep it plugged in all the time. It just needs to rest. It just needs to rest. And that's why we need to unplug. And so when we unplug, it's where everything begins. All power begins with unplugging. I feel meditation is nothing but unplugging. If you can't unplug, you cannot meditate. It's a change of consciousness. It's a change of perspective. And so the first step in finding peace, the first step, absolutely the first step, is to unplug from the body and become aware of ourselves as a soul. And the second step is to detach from our roles and responsibilities. And if I'm not able to do these two, then I cannot go on this journey. I have to be able to do these two. And believe me, none of us are born with these skills. These skills are acquired. You can acquire this skill. And so withdrawal, people say, oh, you're withdrawing because you don't want to face reality. No, this is just the sensible way to do things. You cannot be plugged in all the time. If you're plugged in, you lose power, you lose energy, and before you know, you're depleted. And so it's important to go inside, to check in. So you use this power to detach the mind from the current situation and what we call detached observer. And that's the practice we will do right now. And so what this allows is it allows you to watch objectively. It allows you many solutions. And so these are the benefits. It's a controlling power, not control over other people, but it leads to mastery of the self, mastery of the senses. It enables detachment, which really gives us access to all the other powers. And it brings silence and concentration and focus, which silence, concentration, and focus is what really gives us experiences. And so this is the movie. So when you know that something is a movie, right? Why are we using the concept of a movie? Is you are in stronger control of your thoughts. That is why we're using the concept of a movie. And when you become a detached observer, you understand your emotions. You have the ability to stand back and observe, not just react to situations. And you can accumulate and draw power, right, from inside, which where everything is inside. And so practice one. In practice one is I, the soul, am the driver of this car. I, the soul, am driving this vehicle, my body. So that is practice one, is you just keep remembering awareness, awareness, awareness. I am a soul. I'm the master of this body. I'm a soul. I'm a driver of this body. This body is my vehicle. This body is not me. This body is my vehicle. So I am the driver of this car, this body, and I'm driving as a master this vehicle. That is practice one. And so this awareness automatically makes you detach from the vehicle. That is the body. It makes you detach from any kind of body consciousness. And this is practice two. You're a detached observer. So I want you to just become aware of yourself as a soul and watch everything watch the scene in front of you as a detached observer. Just watch it like you're watching a movie, right? There's a movie set, everything is there, people are actors, you're watching. And this skill set really only comes after many hours of practice. So you have to practice. You can't say, oh, I tried and it didn't work, right? Just keep practicing. So detach, be a witness to what is going on. Become a detached observer of your own story, your pain, your sorrow, your needs, your desires. Just, you're not running away, you're not suppressing them, you're just watching them as a witness. Just keep watching them as a witness. Watch your role as your responsibilities, everything around you, everyone around you as a witness. And so, while we are doing all of this, what happens? Maya is ever present, like that little devil they show on the shoulders. So for us, the devil is not something outside of ourselves, it's something inside, right? It is our own negative thoughts. It's not like, oh, we're all the devil. No, it's our negative thoughts, which are not part of us, which we can get rid of. And so Maya sits there and tells you, no, you can't do it. No, you don't need to do it today. No, you don't need to do it now. No, other people don't understand how, things happen in your life, right? All of those stories come into your head. So you have to watch. This is your homework. Watch how Maya comes to you. Just observe how Maya comes to you. And then we want you to pick a mantra, any mantra that you've heard. That's why I said take notes. And I want you to repeat that affirmation, bring it into your awareness again and again and again. You don't have to say it aloud. It's a silent mantra. But bring it into your awareness again and again. So take a moment now and come up with a phrase or affirmation that will work for you. And also the faith. So we need the faith. We need faith that we are souls. We need faith that this is a movie. So what is the faith you need to have to master this inner power? So think about that. Okay, this is your homework. These 3 questions are your homework. And to do the practices. And so, my dear friends, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can send it to Sister Dorothy. She is under SOI, Sister Dorothy. Or if you have any comments, anything. So, what did you think? Sister Dorothy?
Om Shanti, everybody. So good to be here. That was so lovely and really in-depth realizations of what we are, that we are souls. And we did have one question. They were asking if the sessions are recorded, and I wrote back that they will be on our YouTube channel, and that will be presented at the end, the address for the channel. So you can watch this not once, twice, as many times as you want, because it was very deep and we really want you to get this. And someone else said was a wonderful session. Thank you so much. Okay, some people can be critical. How can we use the power to withdraw and not let their negative comments affect us internally?
Practice, right? You do all of the 4 practices that was mentioned, and you will be able to go beyond anyone's negative comments. But it has to be practice. It's not that suddenly someone's, saying negative things and at that moment you want to go inside. It won't happen that way. It builds up over time.
Okay, I have another question here. This is good, practical. For each session, can you please share examples of how you used these powers in your day-to-day life and how they have made a positive difference in your overall happiness?
It's a good question, but we don't have time. We just have an hour. I usually do this over 2-3 hours. 1 power over 2-3 hours. So yes, and then we can share all kinds of examples, but next time maybe.
Well, I'd like to say something about it though, because silence is golden. And many times I know for myself, instead of blurting out and wanting to get back or to say something, just to be silent, that just makes that relationship so beautiful. As where I know if I would have come out, there would have been this conflict within the situation, within the relationship, sorry. Here's another question. What do you recommend to create own mantra, how to practice the power? So recommending mantra.
It could be any of the mantras, right? One of the mantras is, I'm the driver of this vehicle. I'm the master of this vehicle. That's 2 mantras right there. Another mantra is, there's a movie going on and I need to be a witness to this movie. That could be another mantra.
Great.
Another mantra could be where you are the senses. I am a soul and I'm seeing through these eyes. That could be another mantra.
These are good mantras. But just so I could for the Westerners, if there are Westerners on, another word for mantra would be affirmations. So think of affirmations. There's another question. Can these slides be available to us via email? There's over 200 on the call. That's going to be a little difficult, but they are available on YouTube. You can download them. Do you have anything to say about that, Shireen?
No, they should just watch the YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch the YouTube. There is a question someone sent me, and that is, Sister, where do you feel is your inner stillness? Because in the beginning, I said we all have inner stillness, and there is a point inside that is very, very still, and that is in the soul. It's a spiritual point. It's not a physical point. It's in the soul, and the soul is here. We say the soul is right here. It's in the soul. And so when we become quiet, when we become soul conscious, when we use the power to withdraw, then we touch that point of stillness.
There's another question. Will you also go over the vices which we should avoid in our lives as well? So you might want to direct them to the last series on YouTube.
Right. So we did a whole series called The Story of Immortality, and it's the book Story of Immortality. And we went over all of this. And so what are the vices to avoid? All of them. But they don't just go away in a day, right? So very gradually you be aware, you keep practicing what you need to practice, and then they'll just slowly fall away.
Okay. And that can be available on our YouTube channel as well, under Story of Immortality. So just Google it, go to YouTube channel, and you can take the whole series again, both series actually.
I want to share something here.
Sure.
There's a reason why I did not want to translate the word Maya and mantra. There's some words I don't feel the translation does it justice. Mantra is a very common, actually, it's part of the English dictionary right now. Like yoga is part of the English dictionary, right? They're just some words that become part of the English dictionary because they use so much in everyday language. And so the word mantra is, what it does is, it's like it shifts your consciousness. So if you use a phrase and you keep repeating that in your awareness, the silent chant, if you keep repeating that in your awareness, it shifts your consciousness. And also that's the reason, another reason, the same reason why I did not want to translate Maya was, Maya is so much more than illusion. It has, and you will understand. I have faith in you because I feel all of us have an inner wisdom. All of us do. If you're especially listening to the powers, you want to cultivate this inner wisdom. And this inner wisdom will kick in very soon. You keep practicing, you practice a few times, your inner wisdom will kick in, and you will understand how this Maya is coming. And you will understand why it's not just an illusion. It's just so many things about Maya that's coming into your head that's preventing you from acquiring this power. And so what happens is with any power, the enemy is not a person. The enemy is not anything outside. The enemy is this Maya that is going on inside. And so you have to identify the enemy. So to awaken the 8 powers, you have to know thyself and you have to know thy enemy. Like any movie, right? In a movie, the hero cannot move, the movie cannot progress without the hero not knowing who the enemy is. And so you need to understand who the enemy is. And so that will help you awaken the power.
Thank you, Shireen. I think we are at our limit. It's been wonderful today for us listening to these wonderful things that you're sharing, and also wonderful that all the participants are here. If you check your chat box, you will see the addresses, the email, the YouTube channel, how to register if you want, and the website.
So let's end with a moment of silence. Om Shanti, everyone.